Hi everyone, so this is Miss T. Just wanted to come back in and give you all a couple of more examples that could help you out in math, just so we're a little bit more prepared going into tomorrow's math test. So just to recap a little bit, we've been working a lot with number sequences and being able to compare and contrast numbers that have 3 digits in them. So we're going to go right ahead and begin at number 1 here. So if we look at number 1, I see a number sequence. So one thing that makes it much easier to look at a number sequence that's written side by side like this is to rewrite it in our place value charts, right stacked on top of each other. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to recreate this list of numbers, but in my place value chart. So I see that my first number is 212. I have a 2 in the hundreds, a 1 in the tens, and a 2 in the ones place. My next number is 222. My third number is 232. So we have to take a look at our numbers that's on our place value chart and see if we can figure out what the pattern is in order to figure out what number is going to come next. So taking a look at this chart here, I notice that my hundreds place has a 2, a 2, and a 2. So that's staying the same. This is not jumping by hundreds. If we look at the tens place, I see my numbers go from 1 to 2 to 3. That's changing every time, but I'm not quite sure yet. Let's just look at the ones place. That way we're absolutely positive. The ones place has a 2, a 2, and a 2. Okay then, so looking at my entire place value chart, my 212, then 222, and 232 only shows a change in the tens place. So I'm going to go ahead and circle my tens place. Okay, so we're changing in the tens. So if I wanted to count up, what would my next number be? Looks like we're staying in the hundreds place here, so I'm going to write a 2. If I'm going up by tens, this would be 10, 20, 30. I need a 4. And we're not really jumping up in the ones at all, so I'm going to keep my 2, 2, 2, 2's the same. So my next number in the pattern is 242. All right, when the tens place is changing, only the middle row should be increasing or decreasing. So I'm going to fill in 242 as the next answer on my answer sheet. 242. All right, let's take a look at the next problem here. So if I could find my eraser, I'm going to erase the numbers in this chart, and we're going to take a look at our next set of numbers. Okay, so my next set of numbers, it looks like we are working in the 400s. The first number is going to be 405. Then we have 400. Then we have 395. Okay, let's take a look at this place value chart here. Remember, when we're looking for patterns in our numbers, it has to change every single time, okay? So in my hundreds place, I have a 4, a 4, and a 3. Okay, let's keep going. I have a 0, and a 9 in the tens place. And in my ones place, I have a 5, a 0, and a 5. Ding, ding, ding. I'm thinking about a pattern that we've talked about before. Which pattern counts with a 5, a 0, and then a 5 in the ones place? That's what happens when we count by fives. Okay, so we're counting by fives. That means every time we add a new number to our list, it's going to end in either a 5 or a 0. Okay, and that can be in any type of order. If we started with our number at 400 and gave us 2 more numbers after that, then it would have started with a 0 in our pattern and gone to 5, then a 0, then a 5, then a 0. But for this example, we begin with a 5, then a 0, then a 5, and then our next number is going to have to end in a 0. And I know that right off the bat, I don't even need to know what the entire number is, because when I count by fives, I know this pattern is never going to end. So let's take a look at the other 3 numbers that they gave us already. 405, 400, 395, and well, what do you know? It seems that we are going backwards. So I have to count backwards in my head from 395. So if I took 5 away from 395, that would leave me with 390. 390. If you don't believe me, let's count back. 395, 394, 393, 392, 391, 390. Okay, so that number is going to complete our pattern for number 2. 390. And if you look here even, you can see it written out in this list too, how we have a 5, then a 0, then a 5, and then a 0. So without even thinking about the entire next number that comes next in that pattern, we know that since 390 ends in a 0, the one that comes next is going to end in a 5. Okay? But we don't have to worry about adding another number to our list. We're going to move on to number 3. Now, in number 3, we have a different type of question here. This is where we have to figure out which number is greater or less than the other. So, let's look at number 3. We have numbers 813 and 797. So when we talk about our inequalities, our Pac-Man mouth, Pac-Man always wants to eat the bigger number. That Pac-Man is a hungry little guy over there, okay? So, which number is going to get eaten? The 813 or the 797? Well, I know that 813 must be bigger than 797 because the hundreds place has a higher number in 813 than 797. Right, remember we start from the hundreds place and we go to the smallest number until we figure out which one is bigger. So we were able to figure out which one's bigger just by looking at the hundreds place. So again, my mouth is going to open wide to gobble up that 813. But how do we actually read that? Okay, we don't say 813 Pac-Man mouth 797, right? We read that from left to right just like we're reading a book. So if the biggest number comes up first, we say, well, 813 is greater than 797. And if we were to reverse the two, let's pretend for a moment that we had 797 on this side and 813 on this side. My symbol in here has to change because 797 is less than 813. So again, the numbers didn't change, just the order a little bit. So we still read it from left to right. Pac-Man is still eating the 813 because it's much bigger, and Pac-Man is hungry and wants to eat the bigger one every single time. So let's go on to number 4 then. We have the numbers 129 and 684. Let's look at our place values here. Let's figure out which number is bigger, which one is Pac-Man gonna want to eat. So we have a 1 in the hundreds place here and a 6 in the hundreds place here. I think that 600s is way bigger than 100s. So Pac-Man must want to eat the 684. So let's read this sentence together. 129 is less than 684. This is how the Pac-Man in my head is talking to 129. Let's pretend I'm Pac-Man. 129 is over here. 684 is over here. And Pac-Man wants to eat 684. My back is to the smaller number. See you later. Talk to the hand. I don't want to eat you. Okay, so we're going to eat the big number. Chomp, chomp. All right. So, good. We have 129 is less than 684. Again, if we wanted to switch the numbers around and reverse them, the symbol in here would also have to change because Pac-Man's still trying to gobble up the big number. Okay, we have one less problem to go over today before I think you guys will be ready to take your test tomorrow. So, we have 541 and 514. So let's take a look at these place values. I see a 5 in the hundreds place over here, a 5 in the hundreds place here. But we're not done yet. The number isn't 500 and 500. So we have to continue to our next place value, which would be the tens place. In my tens place, 541 has a 4 in the tens place, and 514 has a 1 in the tens place. So, I think we figured out that 541 is bigger because it has more tens. So if 541 is bigger, Pac-Man wants to eat the bigger number. Okay? Don't get confused because we have the same digits on both sides. We have to look from the largest to the smallest to figure out which entire number is bigger, not just the itty bitty pieces, okay? So, with that being said, I think that we are all set and ready to go for our test tomorrow. Again, good luck. I'll see you guys then. Bye.